On day 24, we'll drive along the Vermilion Cliffs to Marble Canyon and the Navajo Bridge, then drive over to Fire Valley State Park, drive along Lake Mead, and end up at Henderson for the night. Let's get started. Since we're mainly driving into the sun at the beginning, our windshield will be reflecting, and soon we're in Kaibab National Forest. Doesn't look like a national forest, not that many trees, but we'll find a forest eventually as we climb into the mountains. Then as we come over the mountains, there's Vermilion Cliffs National Monument. Actually, up on top on the plateau is the monument itself. Soon we arrive at Vermilion Cliffs National Monument. It is a plateau, the Paria Plateau, and has several parts. The wave in this area only has a few hundred visitors allowed each day, and you can see it's a beautiful place. We didn't get to go there. Also along the northern edge is the Paria Canyon, and we didn't get to go there. It's just not having enough time. What we will do is drive along the southern and eastern portions of the plateau, looking at the cliffs as they fall down, and then we'll go to Marble Canyon at the Colorado River and see the Navajo Bridge. It is a really beautiful place. They have a California condor recovery project here, and this is one of the 2 breeding places in the entire United States. It's the group in the oval, and they do release condors here regularly, and we will actually get to see one when we're down at Marble Canyon. Now let's just take a ride along these beautiful cliffs. Almost every color in the rainbow we'll see before we get to Marble Canyon. Along the way we'll pass some small canyons that have been cut by rainwater runoff, kind of like the little Colorado Gorge that we saw earlier. Let's just sit back and look at these beautiful colors. In 1927, the state of Arizona built the Navajo Bridge here. It's 834 feet long and 467 feet high. It's the one on the left. The more modern bridge is on the right here. And as you can see, to the right of the old bridge is the Arts and Crafts Center, and to the left is the Visitor Center. We're going to spend a few minutes here looking around. In this area, the Colorado River is very slow. We're almost down to Lake Mead right now. And as we look around, we see the beautiful cliffs, and there's a California condor up there on one of the cliff sides. And then it's time to head out to go to Henderson. Lee's Ferry is where the ferry used to be to get across the Colorado River in this area. And as we come back into Cliff Dwellers, you'll notice that there's a house built in the side of this rock right here. I guess they'll live anywhere. That's cool. We head back up into the Kabob Forest. While here in the mountains, we see some unusual plants. Don't know what they are exactly. Maybe some type of yucca. And then we come out of the mountains and we head toward the lowlands and the heat. Soon we're on the interstate highway heading southwest toward Las Vegas, cutting through the mountains. Only 66 more miles to Las Vegas, but we're going to get off and go to Valley of Fire State Park. Valley of Fire is a state park, and it's basically a red rock island out in the middle of a white silica desert. We're going to be looking at all of it along the major roads before heading over and following Lake Mead down to Henderson. Our first stop will be the Visitor Center. As we drive along, this area is at a transition between the colorful flat layered rocks of the Colorado Plateau to the east that we've been in so much, and the broken and faulted limestone mountains of the Basin and Range Mountains that are to the west that we've also been in. The shapes are made by fracturing and erosion, and the red color is iron oxide. If there's no iron oxide, then it's white. The dark areas you see is called desert varnish, and this is an area where the iron and magnesia has leached from the rocks and then evaporated, creating the black side. And now we arrive at the Visitor Center, which is set into the side of the mountain. We begin to really see how the rocks are twisted and caves are worn into it all around the Visitor Center, and the display inside, and the Native Americans that used to live here. This is called a beehive as the wind has blown around it. And now it's time to head off again on northward through the park. You'll notice how it's transitioning from red to white again, as the iron oxide is not in all of these rocks. And also, though, it doesn't really matter what kind of limestone it is, red or white, it's the same thing and erodes in the same ways in all sorts of fantastic shapes. At the dry riverbeds called rios, where the road crosses it, they're reinforced with concrete so they won't wash out during flash floods, as you can see here. Well, now I've arrived at the White Domes area, and while Deborah sits in the car and stays cool, I'm going to take a little hike, about 1.5 miles around this trail. Along the way, I'll see the movie set from The Professionals in 1960s. It's still partly there, and all sorts of weird colored rocks. You can see here how the red and the white mingle in together in streaks. And this formation looks like the man in the moon, or a man sleeping. Now we head back down southward toward the Visitor Center. Along the way, we take a side trip over to Silica Dome. And as you can see, this area we're getting away from the mountains and into the prairie land. And this is Silica Dome, pure white silica. But if you'll notice, it starts to turn red as iron oxide has leached into the rocks here. Now it's time to get back on the road, headed south and out of the park and over toward the Lake Mead recreation area. Before we exit the park, we're going to stop and take a walk along the Elephant Rock Trail and see all sorts of beautiful formations. Let's just look at a few of them. And this one they call the Elephant Rock. The trunk is over to the left and the body to the right, and the head kind of up there at the top. And this boy gives you an idea of the scale. Now we head westward again toward Lake Mead and Lake Mead National Recreation Area. We'll drive through this area over to Henderson. And as we top the hill before getting to Henderson, there's Las Vegas in the distance. And then it's time for us to end day 24 as we check into our hotel for the night in Henderson. This will be our last night on our trip.